Hello everyone, and welcome to the PC Divisions 2 and 3 race here at Imola. So we have a slightly different format for you all this evening. We will be having a sprint qualifying race with the grid set based on a mix-up of the championship standings. Of both the PC's Divisions 2 and 3. So that will be a 16 lap race, but unlike the real life sprint qualifying we've been seeing this weekend, there will be a mandatory pit stop required just due to the limitations of the rules in F1 2021. But after that we will be going into a 50% 32 lap race. With the free set of tyre choice, so tyres will not be based on which compounds they decide to use or which compounds they finish on in the sprint quali. So it's going to add a different tactical element to the racing this weekend. As we have a contact between a couple of drivers causing a disqualification, but that shouldn't affect them. This just means they're disqualified from the formation lap, but not the whole race. So as they come round to form up the grid, it will be Raptor and Coral to lead us away on the front row. And it's currently Jinxie and Max who are going to be sitting on the grid for the longest, letting their tyres and brakes cool right down. So it's going to be interesting to see how they get away. We have 5 red lights. And, a quick out of the lights and away we go. As it looks like Donald's got a very good start there in the McLaren, as that is a car off there and there's a lot of carbon fibre being thrown around as we get a virtual safety car. As Jinxie getting caught out in the wars again. Collision with another driver, and there's already 4 penalties being distributed amongst our drivers so far. And full safety car is out, so that will allow those cars which have suffered some damage to get into the pits and get back out. But as we take a look at the details of these, so that's 5-second penalties for Tom, Matt, Garley, Lazo and Jinxie already in this race. And that, as we said, this is only to set the grid for tonight's full race, so not going to be the end of the world for these drivers, but wow, that was quite an eventful start. Unfortunately, the TV cameras didn't pick up the extent of the carnage. Oh, as we have got a McLaren, and that is Donald into the wall under safety car conditions. That is very unexpected. As Aralat goes past this to see where, just coming out of Aqua Minerale. And that's unfortunate for Donald, who had a good start, but that was bad. Apologies for the pausing, everyone. Just making sure I've got the Discord open to make sure that we don't. So we are aware of any desyncs or restarts that may need to occur. But as our leaders catch up to the safety car, good number of drivers into the pit lane. That is going to change things up in this sprint qualifying. Obviously, little known trick in this game is that the tyre wear in these 25% races is based on the 50% race model. So mediums and maybe even softs could potentially go to the end here. They can do a lot of laps on the tyres in these 25% races. So it could work out well for the drivers who have pitted, especially Lord Volk, or sorry, Gali, Lord Volk, Coral and Nordy going on to the soft tyres. And they should be able to last to the end of the race, especially with the safety car period. But if we look at the winners and losers from this start, and Ettore making up 14 positions after competing in the Div 4 race yesterday, I believe. Div 4 and 5, I think, last night. It is now taking part in the, well, substitution for this race. I'm not sure whether this counts as him subbing for 2 or 3. Who knows? But maybe this time Ettore will be playing the team game for Buck 20, who is rightfully in this division, as his teammate Immigration did not play the team game for him yesterday. Also, shout out to Brewski, who was also in that race yesterday. So a couple of super subs here, Ettore and Brewski, finding themselves up in positions 3 and 4 for this restart. Obviously, everyone behind them has made a pit stop, so Ettore and Bruce, well, all these front 4 are going to have to pit at some point in this race, and actually are likely to lose out quite a lot. It's obviously difficult when you're starting. Oh, there's a spin there from Tom Mack. Again, coming out of Acqua Minerale, something just about trying to go slowly through the through Acqua Minerale. It's just catching these drivers out a bit, as a safety car will be in this lap, and well, Tom Mack slotted in somewhere amongst the runners and riders in the middle, but needs to get himself back up to speed and get those heat out of those tyres after that spin. And Buck 20 is going to be grateful for having Ettore behind him as they restart this race. As Buck 20 gets away, keep an eye a bit further down the field. And it's actually Dog who's looking like they want to make a move up the inside. Lord, actually, of Tom Mack, that is, and fairly tight pass there into Tamburella. But Dog well ahead of Tom Mack now, and continue on as we've got a yellow flag, but can't see any of the. Oh, Tom Mack getting all over the place there as Torre's fallen down the order. We missed what happened there. But Ettore seems to be, it does seem to have the complete front wing there, so no damage issues at least for Ettore, but fallen well down the order from running in P2. As at the front of the field, Buck 20 still leads the way, but Brewski is going to be on the back of the AlphaTauri, won't have DRS this lap or the following lap. There's only one DRS zone on this Imola circuit. It's down the start-finish straight and starts on the previous lap, so we won't actually get DRS here until lap 7, I believe. As Brewski moves to the inside for Tamburella. Not quite enough room there, has to slot back inside Buck 20. Now Ettore on the back of Gali, looking to make his way back up the field after dropping back down a couple of laps earlier. We take a look at the tyres everyone's running on and see how well Tom Mack obviously started on those soft compound tyres, and they didn't do him so well on that restart. But I would have expected the soft runners to have made up a little bit more ground at this point, but we'll have to wait and see. DRS be enabled in a lap's time, as we've got Tom Mack, looks like a round again. Really not a good race for the Haas driver, as the Alfa Romeo teammates swap position. Soft compounds on Lord Volk, obviously working a bit better than the mediums on Hamlin, and Lord Volk being released to unleash that pace of his softer compound tyre. As it's now Brewski looking on the back of Buck 20. Don't think he's going to be close enough now. So another lap following the AlphaTauri round. Hamlin's close to his teammate, having, I believe, let the soft-tyred Lord Volk through. And Lord Volk will be hoping he can start to close down this gap. We take a look to see who has pitted. The real winners here, Lord Volk and Hamlin, have been already made their mandatory stop, running up in P3 and 4, and this is the net lead then of the two Alfa Romeos. Very strong race from them, and really not worked out well for the Torre or Tom Mack. Tom Mack in the pits now, and a Torre still yet to pit, but only running in the middle of the field, and likely will drop to the back bar 1 when he does come in to make his pit stop. But now it's the Torre trying to make a move on Gali. Will have DRS this lap. The rear wing open on the AlphaTauri. Goes to the inside for the first corner, and which will stay the first. Actually well ahead for Tamburello. So good move from a Torre, but while we were watching that, it looks like Hamlin has made it past Buck 20. And Hamlin been released to go chase down Buck 20, and Lord Volk, who was doing well in front of his teammate, has dropped down the order down to P6, so not sure if there was a small incident there for the Alfa Romeo driver. But the race not going so well for them at the moment, as Brewski picks up a 3-second time penalty for multiple track cut violations. And Hamlin, with the fresh tyres on that Alfa Romeo, is looking to challenge Buck 20 for the lead. Hamlin will get DRS on this lap, and Buck 20 will not, so this should be, I would say, a fairly straightforward pass, but it's not that long a run down to Tamburello. Buck 20 defends the inside, but Hamlin is ahead for Tamburello. As we've got an Aston Martin off the track at just after Tamburello, and that is Elliott, who is now back on track. And well, as we said, Tom Mack not having the greatest of days. The field actually coming round to lap the stricken Haas, which is a not the most reassuring of signs in just a sprint qualifying race. But Hamlin, having made his stop already, is driving away at the front of the field. We've got a yellow flag in sector 2, and that is the other Aston Martin of Dog off the track. So some of these drivers really struggling with this Imola circuit, as Buck 20 and Brewski dive into the pit lane to make their mandatory stop. So just the AlphaTauri of Torre yet to make a pit stop in this race. Currently running in P2, but really that position coming from others making pit stops and him not. We take a look at that gap to leader. you've got to say, with it being about a 26-27 second pit stop here, it's going to be right to the back for Ettore when he does make his pit stop. Down the field, the still Japanese, Turkish Grand Prix liveried Red Bull is chasing after the Williams of Coral. And just behind them, the McLaren of Nordi doing well, up into P8. And on those soft compound tyres, he's going to be looking to challenge the cars ahead. He's actually ahead of this Coral, who is looking to challenge Max. Oh, and Max really struggling for grip out of the corner there, and just a kick of oversteer, and that has allowed Coral through. So it will be the Red Bull of Lazo who will be the next to challenge Max, as Max does seem to be struggling for grip at this stage in the race. There's Max challenging the Williams there, and nearly going as wide as the real life Max, but luckily no driver on his outside this time, so that's perfectly within the rules. As Lazo, it's actually Lazo going to be under threat from Nordi here. There's so many cars involved in this fight. And it does seem to be Max who's won it this time. As the Lazo gets a little bit sideways, and that has allowed Nordi through, as we've got a yellow flag in the first sector, and that is the Mercedes of Jinxie off the track. But we'll keep with this fight at the moment, as Nordi looks to be closing down on the Williams of Coral. And so far, a lot of action in this sprint qualifying. Certainly a fun addition to the format here at the FRS, as Nordi getting very close to the back of Coral now. Just needs to concentrate on the exit to Ravazza. Is Nordi going to be able to get the run on Coral? Coral will also have DRS from Max ahead. Oh. So only one change of direction from Max at this time. Again, better behaved than the real life counterpart. As Coral makes a move for the inside, but just not enough room for the Williams to make it through, and that has allowed Nordi to catch right on the back of this group. And, well, with their fighting as well, has allowed Aralak and the two Aston Martins to catch onto the back of this as well. So, a big fight, which is all being held up by the man in 5th place, Max. Max, well actually no, sorry, not Max, it is Raptor who is the cork in this proverbial bottle. As we head down to Ravazza for the 12th time in this race. So further down this pack, still Nordy chasing down, well actually Coral passed Max, so it's now Nordy chasing down Max for P6. And Max has to hope that the soft compound on Nordy's McLaren starts to fade away a little bit as we approach the final few laps of this race. Whereas Max getting a handful of oversteer again. Surely only a matter of time before Nordy gets past, as Nordy, perhaps just car watching there, also runs wide. We come back down to the start finish straight again. Nordy catching right up onto the back of Max. And the game not wanting to give us the best camera angles for this fight, as it does seem to want to miss out a big chunk of the middle of that run down to Tamburello. Tom Mack picks up another 3 seconds of penalties. If we take a look at the penalty situation as it stands at the moment, Nordy in a very good place here, it seems, as we'll probably get the jump on the 3 drivers ahead of him as this sprint qualifying comes to an end. If they don't manage to pull out more of a gap, as that is the Haas of Tom Mack off the circuit again. Tom Mack really not enjoying this race, it seems, as the other Haas of Max again getting very squirrely on exit. Just not a lot of rear wing being run on that Haas, it seems, but it does mean that Max has got quite a bit of straight line speed down this start finish straight, and means that it's a big challenge for Nordy to get past us. There is a stopped AlphaTauri in the middle of the track. I think that must be a desync bug, but that was scary, especially if any of the drivers saw that one. Does look like the Torre in the pit lane and then just teleporting out as the timing tower decides to do its funky things. And with Torre making his pit stop now, all of this pack move up one position, and as Nordy picks up a 3-second time penalty as well, does mean that, well, it looks like Nordy could potentially drop off back behind, or sorry, Lazo could be jumping up through the order when this all gets turned around. But for now, it's Max who's the tyres just seem to be coming back towards Max now, able to put the pressure onto Coral, as Nordy is falling back and appears to be under pressure from the drivers behind. And Lazo now with the move around the outside of Nordy way before Tamburello. And Nordy also getting taken by the Aston Martin of Elliott. And so, as Hamlin comes around Tamburello for the final time to take pole position in this sprint qualifying. It will be followed by the Alpine of Gali and then the Ferrari of Raptor. Next is the pack of Coral, Max, Lazo, Elliot and Nordy. Of course, penalties will change that order. Next is Aralak, followed by Max, Buck20, Jinxie, Attore, Brewski, Lord Volk, who seems to be suffering some desync issues, and then Tom Mack rounds out the last of our finishers. So well done. This is not a podium, this is just the trophy being handed out here for qualifying. So we will skip past that. So our grid for tonight's race will be Hamlin, Gali, Raptor, Elliot, Coral, Lazo, Nordy, Aralak, Max, Buck, Attore, Brewski, Jinxie, Lord Volk, Tom Mac, Dog and Donald. Do stick around, we will be back shortly for our 50% race here at Imola. Welcome back everyone as we join our race here on the formation lap. Is what looks to be a quite damp Imola Grand Prix. So if the dry session in the sprint qualifying wasn't spicy enough for you, let's see how the drivers get on with a damp track. The likes of Lord Volk, Tom Mac, Dog and Donald will be hoping that they get on a bit better in this feature race than they did in the sprint qualifying. As it looks like we've already got a Ferrari way off the back. Perhaps a spin there for Raptor, and that is going to... so we've got 3 cars disqualified from our formation lap. And that will make their intermediate tyres very cold for this race start. As Raptor has closed up on the back of the pack, but will still need to slot into their 3rd position on the grid. So the likes of Gali, Elliot and Lazo are going to be waiting quite a while before the lights go out here. As we form up our grid. With just 2 cars to get into position as Raptor makes his way through to the 3rd place grid slot. We wait for the lights. Oh, here we go. 4, 5. Lights out, and we are racing in Imola. As it looks like Hamlin's got a very good start, and it's a poor start for Gali. A very poor start. It's allowed Elliot through, and will be more threat coming Gali's way for that terrible start. It's like Lazo's gone deep on the first corner. The car's weaving all over the place, or sliding all over the place as they try and get traction. So they come down to the second chicane. It's further back in the pack, but there seems to be a little bit of movement as Aralak has made it past Nordy, or P7. So far looks like everyone away cleanly, apart from potentially an incident there for Brewski, who's currently down off the back of the pack, but still got his car in one piece, so that is good for the Williams driver. But down at the front, Hamlin and Elliot in a bit of a race of their own, as Hamlin goes very wide there. So they come down to Ravazza for the first time. It is a big old gap back to Coral with only 1 lap complete. Hamlin and Elliott fighting it out for the lead at the moment, with Max bothering the back of Gali. So we head down to Tamburella. Max moves to the inside. Good sweeping drive around the outside of the second part of the chicane, and that is Max up to P4. And it's this pack here which is exceptionally close at the minute, as Max runs quite wide onto the curb. Not going to be much traction out there, and this could present an opportunity for the cars behind. And this pack is so close. Nordy there sort of trapped on the outside of the track, boxed in there by Buck 20, who has managed to actually slip through and gain a couple of positions up into P5, followed behind by Nordy, who's now up into P6 in the McLaren. It's got past both Jinxie and Aralac, the two Mercedes, just getting boxed out there, it looked like, in the those conditions, as we've got a yellow flag in the second sector, and a virtual safety car. So this will reset some of our races here, as it looks like Tom, Mac and Dog have had a bit of an incident, as have Raptor and Donald, who find themselves way off the back of the pack. So not a good weekend for Donald, having been taken out, or not taken out, had an incident and crashing out of the sprint qualifying, is now right down at the back and fallen way off the pack. And Tom Mack, missing a front wing, is going to have to dive into the pit lane under this virtual safety car. Won't cost him as much as it could have done under normal race conditions, but that's going to be costly still, taking a pit stop this early in the race. Not sure if it'd be able to take a new set of intermediates right to the end from this point. And the virtual safety car actually seems to have created a few gaps between the cars in the midfield. Maybe just people giving each other space, but we are back underway racing here, and Nordy has got the Mercedes of Jinxie right under his diffuser, as Lazo looks to make a move on Aralac. So we head down towards Aqua Minerale, as Jinxie is past Nordy and Lazo is past Aralac. Nordy's having to look in his mirrors, as Lazo appears to be on a bit of a charge at the moment. Down at the front of the field, Hamlin and Elliott are just coming out of Ravazza, down onto the start-finish straight. Will not have DRS in these conditions, so any pass is just going to have to be using the natural slipstream from the car in front, or waiting for a mistake on the exit of one of these corners, which is easy enough to do in these conditions. So Elliott looking like he's got the stronger drive out of the corner. So we head down towards the second chicane. Elliott's taking the inside line, takes an awful lot of curb, both corners, but it is Hamlin who runs wide and allows Elliott to come through. So strong bit of driving there from our two leaders, who are well clear of the rest of the pack, as Nordy seems to be falling down the order. Lord Volk making up another's position, and Nordy now under threat from Aralac. And well, actually, I say under threat, Nordy not really defending from Aralac there, so not sure if there's a problem there for the McLaren, as he goes very, very wide. Let's just see, how does he handle Aqua Minerale? Seems to be able to keep it within track limits there, so hopefully that problem for Nordy isn't too permanent, is able to keep on going, as we wait for us to get some times back on the timing tower. We'll check back in with the fight for the lead, as Hamlin is extremely close to the back of Elliott. As a safety car is out, not quite sure what that is for. Oh, as Raptor is out of this race, just coming out of the hairpin. We might get to see that as the safety car takes us round into the second sector. So the marshals aren't too efficient at their job, and we'll be able to see where that Ferrari is. Nope, as the marshals have come and got their magic JCB out there and teleported that car off the track. This will allow some of those drivers that had fallen off the back of the pack to get back into this race. As we take a look at who has pitted and who has not. So, for a slight change, Ettore has been one of the first ones to make their mandatory pit stop in this race. So it'd be interesting to see whether these drivers can take this set of intermediates to the end from here. Either way, it will be fresher rubber. They should have a bit more grip on those fresher intermediates. There seems to be a dry line forming now, as we continue to follow the safety car around. As Ettore is catching onto the back of the pack. And Dog is pitted for the medium tyres. Just keep an eye on Dog and see. It seems to be struggling for grip there, does Dog. So potentially not the right call. And with the those in commentary or in the chat saying that this might be bugged and this might be actually a dry race, doesn't look like dry conditions at the moment. And Dog looks seemingly struggling for pace even under safety car conditions. This won't bode well for the restart. And I think also means that Donald is not allowed to overtake. Or are they? And this is going to hurt these two. As Dog has... Dog is holding on to P15 as its safety car. And... oh, actually Donald has gone past Dog. But looks like has been told to give the position back. So this is incredibly painful for these two. And they will find it hard to catch up to the safety car. So hopefully race control does not see fit to keep the safety car out until these two have caught up, because otherwise we may be running the rest of this race behind the safety car. Or until the conditions dry up enough for the medium tyres to start getting some traction. That gap that the game is telling me, I do not think is correct. It is certainly more than a second between Dog and Tom Mack. Let's see, does Dog opt to dive into the pit lane? Nope, is continuing to just drive round on those medium compound tyres with what looks like absolutely no grip, and the safety car is still out. Apologies, just taking a look at the Discord to make sure that there's not some sort of bug that people are talking about. Oh, so the safety car is going to come in this lap, so staying out has not worked out for Dog, and neither for Donald, who's going to have to wait, I think, until they get around to the start-finish line before they're allowed to overtake. It'll be interesting to see how the game handles this one, as usually you have to wait until the driver in front passes the safety car line before you're allowed to go past, and it's going to certainly take a long time for Dog to get there. So Elliot backs up the pack for this restart. Not wanting to get underway until the last possible moment. Elliot goes for it. Has not caught Hamlin by surprise. Hamlin able to keep on the back of the Aston Martin. And Donald has got past Dog. Oh, as we have carbon fibre going flying everywhere. Not sure who that was with the contact. It looks like Jinxie has fallen down the order. And yep, is missing the left end plate on that front wing. And yeah, I think I'd have to agree with Romeo in the chat. Donald has been shafted, although perhaps not as shafted as he could have been under real Formula 1 rules, as I don't think that Donald would have been allowed to get past until they got back round to the start-finish line, which would have really hurt his chances in this race. As Lord Volk also falling down the pack. As wow, I think that was the Haas of Tom Mack going extremely wide there. Oh, Tom Mack just losing the rear again. We did see him doing that in the sprint qualifying, and Imola does not seem to be the track for Tom Mack, especially not this weekend. So we continue where we left off before this safety cut, with Elliot and Hamlin creating a bit of a gap between themselves and the rest of the pack, and really the only two in it for the lead of this race, unless something else changes. And Hamlin right on the back of the Aston Martin of Elliot. However, the other Aston Martin seems to be having as we expected, having a lot of trouble. As Hamlin gets harmful of oversteer to the left, oversteer to the right, does well to catch it in the end. Those sorts of moments you can often see going horribly wrong, but this time Hamlin has been able to keep control of the car, as it seems Gali is going for the Hail Mary strategy, stuck on the medium compounder tyre just like Dog did. We didn't see it working out for Dog earlier in the race, so unless Gali is able to find a bit more grip out there, I have to say potentially not a wide strategy call from Gali, as we can already see that gap between themselves and Lord Volk is increasing by the update. As the confirmation that the medium tyres are not working as Dog dives into the pit lane for another set of intermediates. It's going to hurt his overall race time, as it's probably even going to be lapped now by his teammate shortly, but perhaps Gali now noticing he's made a huge mistake pitting onto those medium tyres, as Dog does appear to be closing down that gap as well. Hamlin's close as he's ever been, as as expected, it does seem like Gali is having some problems on those medium compound tyres, really going slowly, not able to put down the power at all. See him going through the chicane, and that is a tentative drive from Gali, and I think that's just going to be a drive back around to the pits to put on a new set of intermediates. But at the front, this fight between Elliot and Hamlin continues for another lap, but perhaps this fighting slowing the two drivers down, as Coral is beginning to catch up to the back of this fight. He's now within a second to Hamlin and could begin to pull themselves into this fight. As Gali, noticing the error of his ways, has pulled into the pit lane and retired. didn't have the confidence that he'd be able to put on some new intermediates and get himself back into this race, so has opted to sit the rest of this one out. But Coral is now making this a three-way fight for the lead. There's looks like burnt through a lot of his, actually not burnt through a lot of his ERS, perhaps just using his deployment for the, oh no, of course, ignore me, rain lights, forgot about those. But this fight for the lead, it's got a 2.5 second gap back to the next closest driver, which is Max, who is under pressure of his own behind with the two AlphaTauris of Tori and Buck not far behind. And at the back of this group is Nordy. Who's looking to get into contention with this fight ahead, and would be looking to capitalise on any mistake, but oh, and a mistake we have seen, and it is a mistake from a Torre who is looked like they were going for the overtake on Max there, but has instead collected the wall, and that is that AlphaTauri out of this race. So safety car out, and thankfully for Dog, he's just ahead of his teammate, so won't be lapped and will be able to go unlap himself, and hopefully for him catch up to the back of this pack. We keep an eye further back to see, does anyone decide to jump into the pits? Doesn't look that way at the moment. Everyone deciding to stay out for now. Has Dog yet to even overtake the retired AlphaTauri of Torre, so far back was he. And he's going to really have to put the hammer down if he wants to catch onto the back of this lead train for the safety car restart. So far this has been an action-packed race. This is going to play into the hands of the likes of Donald, Jinxie, Lord Volk, Lazo and Dog, who've all had their own independent issues during this race, and should be able to get back into contention once they catch up to the back of the pack. Still 20 laps to go of this race, so nothing is decided. As we can see, it's so easy to lose it in these conditions. This race could really go to anyone, as we also do not know how long these intermediate tyres will last into this race. At the moment of this lead pack, it's Nordy in the McLaren who has got the freshest rubber on, and we'll be hoping to take advantage of that on this safety car restart. As Brewski is diving into the pits for a set of medium tyres. Maybe Brewski feeling that this is the time to switch on to the mediums. We've seen two drivers do it so far. Dog tried, failed, and has come back into the pits to put on some intermediates. Gali found that the soft tyres were so undrivable that he decided to retire from this race. And it's actually potential that these pit stops onto the mediums could be accidental, because we see, if we look at Gali, that the AI put on a set of soft tyres when Gali retired. So potentially the game thinking that it's, or the game advising soft tyres at the moment, and if drivers don't check which tyres it's handing them, they're going to be surprised to see they're putting on a set of soft rubber. So any driver engineers watching in this chat might want to just warn their drivers to check their MFD. Although it does seem that Brewski is able to, is finding a little bit more grip than the others were before him. is still catching up to the back of this pack. So unlike the likes of Quali before, who was dropping back, Brewski's on the back of this safety car train. We'll keep an eye on Brewski for this safety car restart. So although the track conditions look extremely wet, those medium tyres are definitely looking more drivable on that Williams than we have seen so far. As Lazo into the pits, also for some mediums. It's maybe seeing the pace of the fact that Brewski's able to stay on this back of this safety car train, is thinking it's time to gamble for some soft compound tyres. Whereas Dog, however, has opted to stay out on the intermediate compounds, and that does give them the jump on Lazo. But it's going to be a case of whether these these dry compound tyres are able to just hang in there for a couple of laps. And as the track dries out, we should see a crossover point where the medium or the dry compound tyres will become faster than the intermediates, and if that comes quickly enough, it could work out very well for Brewski and Lazo, who, having opted to do the pit stop under safety car conditions, will not be dropping too far off the back of the pack and will be able to, if the cars in front have to pit, they could find themselves in the first and second position when this all rolls up. But yet to be seen. It's all going to come down to how this safety car restart works out. So we're going to keep an eye on Brewski for now. As the safety car comes out of Ravazza for the final time as it heads into the pit lane. As Elliott will restart this race. Again, opting to go late, and Hamlin and Coral both extremely close to each other at this time. As we check down the order, it is Brewski and Lazo who are making up positions at the moment. As we see numerous drivers diving into the pit lane for medium tyres. And it does seem like this is the point in the race where the crossover point is happening, as the two medium compound tyre drivers are actually fighting each other at the moment, finding themselves heading up the order. This is turning into a real stormer of a race at the moment. It'll be interesting to see with the safety car running we've had, can these medium compound tyres go to the end of the race? And you can see the drive that Lazo has out of the corner. Such is the advantage we're seeing. Although, of course, in this Formula 1 game, it does look like it doesn't necessarily simulate the wet and the dry lines there, because I don't think in a real Formula 1 car in the the dry compounded tyre you would be risking running offline quite like that. As another 5 of our drivers dive into the pits to put on some dry weather boots. And this swap to the dry compound tyres has worked out well for some drivers. However, for the likes of Nordi and Dogs, find themselves now down at the bottom of the order, weren't able to make that first car after the safety car restart work for them, and not going to be moving up the positions quite as much as we thought they would. However, Lazo and Brewski have really made those dry tyres work for them, and Lazo now on the attack on Aralac, one of the few drivers to actually stay out on the intermediate compound tyre, and this is really hurting Aralac's race hit. Is not on the right tyre. And they're going to know it now that they've waited too long to switch onto the dry compound. I expect we'll see the rest of the intermediate runners dive into the pits now. There's no ambiguity on which tyre is the faster. So we see Max, Aralak, Donald, our last intermediate rider of Lord Volk, into the pits now. Let's keep an eye where will... Lord Volk is going to be the last of the drivers out of the pit lane, I believe. Oh, having to serve the penalty as well. Putting on the soft compound of tyre with a nose change. Penalty nose change. Oh, it's everything there for Lord Volk, who's going to find themselves right down at the bottom of the order. The running on the wrong compound of tyre and having to serve all of those different time-consuming penalties in the pit lane is a harsh punishment. And we'll be going quick when they come out on their soft tyres. Definitely going to be able to get the temperature into their tyres quickly, but will they be able to make it to the end of the race, as I expect a lot of these medium runners will be attempting to do from this point on. But Coral on the soft tyre is definitely making the most of the grip that he has available to him. Starting to put the pressure on Hamlin. And going to need to get this move done quickly, because I imagine that Coral is going to need to make another pit stop before the end of this race, probably onto the soft compounder tyre again. So it's going to be quick on their final two stints, but it's going to take the penalty of another pit stop, and it's going to see them falling down the order, especially if we see another safety car. Coral past Hamlin there. Who's just missed it on the cutover between the pit exit and Tamburello. But now Coral just needs to stretch his legs and try and get after Elliott. Can't worry about the car behind him, just has to look ahead, has to make this soft stint work for himself. As Lord Volk is storming in last position, or 14th position at the moment, taken 6 seconds out of Donald in one lap, and really needs that pace if he's wants any chance of getting a decent position towards the end of this race. As again, would expect that Lord Volk will have to make another pit stop at some point in this race. Up at the front, Lazo is leading the way in this race, followed by Brewski, almost 2 seconds behind, but then the gap back to the next runner of Buck 20 is 10 seconds behind, and that is going to give Brewski the confidence to know that he can just start to stretch his legs and start chasing down Lazo, and doesn't need to worry about any threat from behind. As Lord Volk sets the fastest lap of the race, so is really taking the life out of those soft tyres, and I imagine would not be able to make it to the end. As Coral has yet to drop the Alfa Romeo of Hamlin. Coral going very strong in this race. Ooh, as Hamlin goes quite wide there at Aqua Minerale. Coral is closing that gap up to Elliott in front, so is using those soft compound tyres. It's just that Hamlin is also finding some pace and able to keep up with the Williams ahead. Hamlin all over the back of Coral, And Coral, who would love to be going and chasing down the cars in front, is having to look in his mirrors, because this Alfa Romeo is not going anywhere. Further down the order, Tom Mack is having a decent recovery drive here, bothering the back of Nordi for P8, having had a few spins in this race and finding himself way down the order. The changing conditions and the safety cars has played into his hands, allowed him to build up back to 9th place. Not quite as good as the recovery we saw from Lewis Hamilton over this weekend, but still a very strong recovery for Tom Mack. And we'll be looking to make a few more positions here as he's hounding the back of Nordi at the moment for P8. And it seems that Hamlin has got back past Coral. Perhaps the soft tyre is starting to go away, although after only 4 laps I would not expect that to be the case at this point in the race. So Hamlin just with a little bit of pace advantage over Coral. And this fighting has allowed Elliott to pull away from this pair just a little bit. Elliott actually in a fight of his own with Buck, P3, and Justin Bruschi as well has fallen back from Lazo. That gap between Lazo and Bruschi has grown. The gap between Bruschi and Buck 20 has dropped down, so Bruschi potentially just struggling for pace. The tyres aren't that old at the moment, so I wouldn't expect it to be down to any tyre wear. Actually just getting a feel for the conditions as the track dries out. Come down to the DRS zone. Elliott should get DRS this lap. Is about 8 tenths back from Buck 20, but well, did set the fastest lap of the race, but then Hamlin very quickly took it back off him. Elliott extremely close on the back of Buck, but not many overtaking opportunities at this part of the track. Really the best thing to do is just be patient, keep as close as you can to the car in front, don't try and take any risky maneuvers which might see you dropping away from the back of the car ahead, and you just need to maximise that exit from Rivazza, the final corner complex at this circuit. That is the most important traction zone on the circuit, and that is where the majority of the moves are going to be set up into that DRS zone down on the start-finish straight. As Nordi picks up another 3-second time penalty for his worries and is at risk of dropping out of the top 10 with Aralak not too far behind. And Lord Volt, although going quickly, just picks up another 3-second time penalty. Well, actually, numerous drivers picking up those time penalties, but it's Elliott who's making the move on Buck, moving up into the final podium position. There's strong racing from Elliott tonight. Lost out a little bit in the safety cars and the changing conditions. Was previously running in the lead of this race along with Hamlin, but due to waiting just a little too long to switch on to the dry tyres, has dropped down to third, but a good recovery overtake there on Buck has allowed him to start heading down and closing up that gap to Bruschi ahead. Bruschi, who's dropped away substantially from Lazo now. Lazo really in a race of his own. And it led to drop Buck, so Buck's still very much in this race for the podium position. So they come down through Rivazza. Buck should have DRS this lap. Is this going to be another swap of position between Buck and Elliott? doesn't seem that Buck is close enough in this particular instance. They come down towards Ravazza. Elliott is still far enough ahead, although it does position his car slightly defensively to stop Buck trying to take an inside line. In the end, doesn't need to actually hold the inside if Buck is just too far back to affect a manoeuvre. But these two running awfully close, and Buck able to keep with Elliott through the flowing corners. Must be something in that setup which is allowing Buck to stick in the dirty air of Elliott. And if he can keep this, maintain this gap through the rest of this lap, we'll have a very good shot down onto the start-finish straight. But this fighting is also allowing Hamlin behind to close up on the back of Buck. We'll get the double toe, and wow, Hamlin right on the back of Buck as we head down towards Ravazza. And really this is the position which is most under threat at the moment. Elliott has got a tiny bit of a buffer back to Buck, but Buck with no such buffer back to Hamlin. The only saving grace for Buck is he also has DRS, and does seem to have just a little bit of that advantage over Hamlin in straight line speed, but have to abort out of that move on Elliott has slowed Buck down, and Hamlin is again back on the back of that AlphaTauri. But as I mentioned before, not really many overtaking opportunities around this track. It's either down the start finish straight, or you're just risking a send somewhere else, somewhere around this circuit. It does appear Aralak has made it past Nordi for the final points paying position. That's job well done by Aralak, who can concentrate now on pulling out that gap to Nordi and maybe start thinking about heading after Tom Mack. As we have got a yellow flag in the second sector, that is the Alfa Romeo of Lord Volk, who's able to keep moving, so don't think we're going to see a safety car at this point in the race, which is good to see because there are definitely plenty of battles heating up here, which we don't really want to see reset just at this juncture in the race. It does appear Hamlin has potentially had an incident as well that we just missed, as he's dropped way off the back of this fight and has even been overtaken by Coral. We'll check back in with Hamlin. Still got all the carbon fibre on the front of that car, so no damage for Hamlin, but definitely dropped considerably off the back of that fight. And this is allowing Buck 20 a uninterrupted fight against Elliott, and is really as close as he's ever been onto the back of the Aston Martin. So they exit the chicane and head on down towards Ravazza. Buck just needs to be making sure he gets the perfect exit from the corner, as the sun is out now here. I imagine the track temperatures are starting to increase, so this will start to affect those who are on the soft tyres. Aren't going to be able to hang on to their rubber for quite as long as maybe they would have hoped. And you have to imagine it's not going to be too long for the likes of Coral and Lord Volk to start to drop off the pace. However, it's not really going to matter too much to Lord Volk, who already finds themselves sat down at the bottom of the pack. Buck 20 still following on the back of Elliott. As we have a yellow flag. This does seem Nordi has gone round in Aqua Minerale. Was having a strong fight with Max just earlier, so I'm not sure if there was contact between the two cars. As Max picks up a 3-second time penalty for good measure. And Buck, as close as he's been, but still not able to find a way past. We check back in now with Donald and Max. The fight for P11. Maybe been slightly incorrect with what I said before, because although in the usual races we would say that 10th is the last points paying position, of course this is a multi-division race, so drivers will be picking up points for their finishing position in their individual divisions. Still, Buck 20 unable to find a way past Elliott, and the other Aston Martin of Dog is now currently putting pressure onto Hamlin. That is a big crash! As the Williams of Coral on those soft compound tyres just loses the back end, and that is a huge crash. And no surprise, there is a safety car out, and we're going to see, are we going to see some drivers diving into the pits? So keep an eye on our leader, Lazo. With just 3 laps of this race remaining. There's a decent sized gap behind him. He's opting to stay out. As is Brewski and Elliott. Hamlin also opting to stay out. Jinxie also opting to stay out. Everyone, it appears, is opting to stay out. Oh, Donald, the first of the runners to dive into the pits. Imagine will come out on the soft compound tyre. There's also Nordi in the McLaren. So the 2 McLarens into the pits. And thankfully for the team, they're just spread out enough to avoid double stacking. So they should be able to catch up to the back of the pack, but I imagine we're only going to see 1 lap of running here. I might even see this. It can be interesting to see what happens here, because the Formula 1 game doesn't usually bring out safety cars this late into the race. And I'm not sure if it would be wanting to keep it out much longer, so have to see what happens. Yep, safety car in this lap. And potentially the drivers who pit is getting caught out by that, because you wouldn't usually expect a 1 lap safety car. It's a bit of an anomaly here at Imola, but it's just the way that this game is coded by Codemasters. As Lazo will restart this race. He gets a good start, and it looks like it's going to be Brewski who's under threat from Elliott. Elliott's got a decent run here down towards Tamburello. He's got the inside line. As long as he can be confident on the brakes, should be able to keep this position, as he does. That is P2 now for Elliott. Strong restart, and Brewski also now under pressure from Buck 20, who's made it through up into the final podium position. Buck 20 also taking Lazo. Lazo having a problem because that is Elliott now into the lead of this race, followed by Buck 20, Lazo in third. Max has DNF'd from this race. We come up the hill towards the chicane. And we keep an eye on Jinxie here, who's putting a lot of pressure onto Lazo. So they're coming down towards Ravazza. I don't think this is a place to be going for an overtake, but Jinxie is going to want to try and get the most out of this exit. This is going to be their best opportunity as we head into the final lap of this race, which has been action-packed from start to finish. Elliott now makes his way through. So they head down towards Tamburella. It's Jinxie who is putting the pressure onto Lazo. With just half a lap remaining. This is the do or die moments of the race, and I'd imagine plenty of drivers will be feeling that, especially some of the ones who have missed out due to safety cars and changing conditions. Hamlin, our pole sitter on this race, finding himself down in P7. You definitely know the driver has pace, but through some unfortunate incidents, some of his own, some of just changing conditions. Just wanted to at least try and make up another position on Tom Mack. Goes to the inside, which will be the outside for Ravazza. Hangs on around the outside, little bit of wheel banging as Elliott finishes this race, followed by Buck 20, Lazo, Jinxie, and it will be Hamlin ahead of Aralak, Brewski, Tom Mack, Donald coming home 12 seconds off the back of the pack after making that pit stop with that only one lap safety car. And then the final car to cross the start finish line will be Nordy. Well, that was an action-packed race from start to finish. I think I'm going to need to go get myself some water because my throat is certainly dry after that one. As Elliott hands out some copies of the F1 2021 game to the perhaps indifferent crowd. There's a strong drive from Elliott. Seems that for different parts of the race, the luck was in his favour, out of his favour, back in his favour. Definitely a luck played a big part in the results of this race, but can't take it away from Elliott. There was some strong driving in there as well to take that win, and some unfortunate errors by the cars finishing further down the order to give that victory to Elliott. So as we run down our finishing order, that is Elliott, Buck 20, Lazo, Jinxie, Hamlin, Aralak, Brewski, Tom Mack, Lord Volk, Donald, Nordy, Max, Dog, Coral, Attore, Gali and Raptor, with Attore, Gali and Raptor not finishing this race. Well, thank you for watching, everyone. That was certainly an entertaining race. We will be back for the FRS PC's Divisions 2 and 3 finale next weekend at Brazil. Please do tune in for that. If you have enjoyed the stream, please do consider following or subscribing, and we will catch you again next time. So have a very good week and good night.